I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the will run suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders, pushing up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, so this mercy, take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers to give out.
Politics and sinners, they all the same. Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up, won't play the role. Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God. Neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over.
Good morning. Well, shit, never mind. Good afternoon, whatever it is. Damn, shit ain't on today. There we go. So, good morning, or good afternoon, whatever you want to call it. Peace and afternoon. This morning, this afternoon, whatever you want to call it, right? I want to talk about the Haaf case, the Haaf, whatever they called him, Jerry Haaf case, right? How Minneapolis criminalized Black peace. Now, see, I want people to see this, right? I want people to understand this. What's up? I got something special for y'all today because I'm going back in the past, right? And here's the thing of it is I'm going to talk about this a little bit before I really get into it. But before I get into all that, y'all already know what I do. I want to play independent music. And here is Don Tripp, Report Card Day.
I usually wanna be a baller, a shot caller, with 26s on my Impala. That's until I had a son and a daughter, and I decided that I'd rather be a father. I'm still getting money, got you pussies hot and bothered. Never stopped fighting, caught me Hurricane Carter. I was grinding harder when they repossessed my Charger. I was getting money, but I fucked up my priorities. Lesson learned, I had to be patient, had to wait my turn. Mr. Tripp ain't welcoming the bitch as far as they concerned. They ain't want me eating at their table, then the tables turned. Though like Homer Simpson, except I don't work for Mr. Byrne. Why you got your hands out? I got nothing to give away. Ran into a rat the other day, I had to shake and bake. Mama had to scrape just so we wouldn't stay in Section 8. She did damn good, so just let me set the record straight. Mama ain't want nobody to know that we was broke, I think it hurt her pride. Problem is I'm far too fucking arrogant to tuck and hide. Let's go get this bag then, let's go have a blast. I was breaking down bells, had me always late to class. And I never been ashamed of all the errors in my past. Fuck I'm supposed to be scared of, who gon' whoop my ass? Babies come first, I would give them all my last. It feel mighty damn good to be a dad. Used to want to be a baller, a shot caller. Yeah, with 26s on my Impala. That's until I had a son and a daughter. Then I said, fuck this shit, I'd rather be a father. They know that is a gorilla though, regardless. I got fully automatics and revolvers. The streets don't let nobody back, the streets is heartless. I pray to God I get to die from natural causes. I just keep the paper fluent like a faucet. One like the live, we can't rewind it, should've paused it. Be a baller, a shot caller. Yeah, with 26s on my Impala. Yeah. That's until I had a son and a daughter. I said, fuck this shit, I'm ready to be a father. Fuck this shit, I'm ready to be a father. Long live Piff.
Long live Piff. Hey man, so I want to do something different because I normally don't usually go live on the weekends. But somebody sent me this documentary about kind of history of the Vice Lords and the Crips and the GDs, and so I really wanted to get into that because that's really not something that's really talked about a lot. Is history, right? So we're seeing Eric Mahmoud and Best Harvest or Best Academy. So I really wanted to go into kind of like a lot of it is history, right? Some people call it the past, right? And I want to play this. So you're going to listen to a podcast called The Spot 55, and it's talking about Vice Lords and Crips in Minneapolis.
Now, in them early days, in them middle 80s, late 80s, early 90s, Minneapolis was GD and Vice Lords. I mean, yeah, you had Stones. Definitely had Stones. You had Black Souls. You feel me? You even had a few Black Disciples. But the cats that were putting it down, when you heard about a humbug, when you heard about some gangbanger, it was Vice Lords and Disciples. 9 times out of 10. And the Disciples, being the deepest criminal organization in Minnesota, still is, were everywhere. Minneapolis, St. Paul, South Side, North Side, suburbs. But in them early years, they weren't as organized as they would have become in the early 90s. You see, the GD migration to Minneapolis was totally different than the Vice Lords. The Vice Lords came similar to the GDs where families migrated from Chicago to Minneapolis. But the Vice Lords came through an organization as well, a nonprofit organization known as The Way, Inc., where conservative Vice Lord members came to Minneapolis, working outreach programs. And they brought that Lordism, that Vice Lord mentality, which stuck and made the Vice Lords not only the second deepest criminal organization in Minnesota, but the most organized at that time. You see, I joined the Almighty Vice Lord Nation at 13 years old, 1986. And at that time, I had been well versed in what a Vice Lord was and what a Vice Lord was meant to do. You know, elementary school, we're fighting each other over turning our hats to the right or left. And we ain't Vice Lords, we ain't disciples, but we're wannabes. And like anybody, we came off the porch at 10, 11. Easy. And so we wanted to be like the bigger Lords, the bigger GDs that we seen. We went to elementary school. We emulated what we thought it meant to be a Vice Lord, a disciple. There were times I got jumped. There was times we jumped down. But by 1986, 1987, I'm full-fledged conservative Vice Lord. And I'm running the streets, engaging in skirmishes day to day with GDs, Black Souls. My hood is connected to the Blood family, which is now known as the Cross Lake Rolling 30s Bloods. This gang started totally separate from Los Angeles Bloods. You understand me? Original Minneapolis Blood gang. It wasn't until the middle 80s, late 80s that they joined the Blood Alliance with Los Angeles. You understand me? So now, Like I said, it was every day as a young vice lord that we were banging against GDs. Me, myself, I used to go from south side to north side. A lot of my schools from junior high on up were all over north. So there was a lot of times I ran into GDs, whether it was on the bus, at school, downtown. Roller Gardens was a common spot. And those that were in it remember how we used to be. Sometimes they caught us, sometimes we caught them. The Crips began to migrate from Los Angeles to Minneapolis, the 6-0s, shotguns, Raymonds. And they began to get their money. They came with the product and tripled their prices. Cats like Big U and the 6-0s. You know what I'm saying? Space Ghost and the 9-0s. Reputable shotguns. Raymonds. They came to Minneapolis and they got paid. When they first came to Minneapolis, there was no drama. The other gangs and organizations did not see them as immediate threats. By this time, the Bloods did. Because like I said, it was in the late 80s when their connections with the Bloods in Los Angeles began. And they became aware of Crips as their number one enemy. And so they initially started bumping heads, naturally. But when it came to vice lords, disciples, and the other cliques that were around at that time, it was money to be made.
Right.
As far as the Crips go, they had the good prices. And they had to wait. So that gave the Crips a good 3 years to ball, you know what I'm saying? To initiate new members and to get their little territories, get a place where they could, a home base.
Mm-hmm.
By 1990, boom. Their first war after, separate from them and the Bloods, was the Vice Lords and Crips. All out war. And even though, the shotguns didn't get along with the 60s. You feel me? The shotguns didn't get along with the 9-0s. So it wasn't like they were teaming up with us. As a Vice Lord, we was banging against GDs. By 1990, we could banging against GDs now, 6-0s, 9-0s, you know what I'm saying? And shotguns. And I'm not going to lie, because their G's and some of their members came from Los Angeles, the level of gangbanging, the level of violence, it started to go up because of that. I'm going to give them their props. I've always said that the Crip gangs in Minneapolis, when it came to gangbanging, as a vice lord, as an opposition, they were formidable opponents. They made me raise my level. I had to. They was playing for keeps. They had a West Coast style. I was brought up on a Midwest Chicago style, more organized, more think before you act. Theirs was more of a crash out when it came to gunplay. And they constantly pushed the line. They would bully you if you let them. You understood me? You knew they were around. They had that type of swagger. So naturally, they were going to butt heads with the Vice Lords because we were the most organized at that time, second largest, and we were arrogant as a mother. You feel me? Now, the North Side has always had a Chicago feel. A lot of Chicago people migrated to Minneapolis and made families on the North Side. So it's got a Chicago feel. You've had your Mickey Cobras, your Stones, your Unknown Vice Lords, your Disciples, your Black Souls, your BDs. All these cats were over north in the late 80s, early 90s. The Crips were just getting established. They had a stronghold in St. Paul. The 6-0s and the 9-0s were stronger in St. Paul.
Yep.
But then the 6-0s had a spot over South. The 9-0s tried to establish a spot over South. We began to butt heads with the 9-0s at first because the 6-0s were doing their business over by the Native Projects on the opposite side of Lake Street.
Right.
That's the opposite side. Our hood is Cross Lake. So we didn't bump into the 6-0s until around 91, 92. You see what I'm saying? 90, 91, we started funking with the 9-0s. Little skirmishes that built up and got worse and worse each year. The more they got their money up and more they got their members up, you know, we didn't know it was unwinnable. The wars were all unwinnable. There was no way we were going to eliminate them totally and they were going to eliminate us. All we could do is hope to push them out of our section and know that we wouldn't get pushed out of our section by them because we were more established. We lived there. We were deeper. A lot of them came from out of town.
Right. That's right.
A lot of shotgun Crips over north used to be vice lords. You understand me? So there's a lot of political shit that went on back then. A history that has everything to do with how Minneapolis turned out, how it is now, and why it was called Murderapolis in 95. That's why we developed this page right here, because we're going to give that history. We're going to do them interviews, you know what I'm saying, with all the reputables that were around in the 80s, the 90s. You know what I'm saying? We're going to talk to the young cats now that got the streets. You feel me? Every coast, east, west, and even the cats down south, they're giving their history, the documentation of their reputables and what their streets had to offer and the whole scheme of things. Minneapolis is unique because Minneapolis is one of the oldest cities in America, one of the first that had Crips and Vice Lords and Disciples and Bloods. You understand me? And the style of gangbanging, Chicago meets Los Angeles in a city, that made for a totally different type of atmosphere. You had reputables, all the reputables, from Willie Lord to Big U, Space Ghost. You know what I'm saying, me? Sharif Willis, China Joe. You had real members that came to Minneapolis and established. So you know what I'm saying? If you enjoyed this video, please hit that subscribe. Hit that like and that share and press.
Please go ahead, like and subscribe to him. That is a very good point because Minneapolis, what a lot of people don't want to talk about, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, right? That's why I called this episode The Haaf Case. Because there's the crazy thing of it is, right? It's not just me talking about it. This is something that has been talked about for years because what I'm going to read to you today is a blog from 20 years ago. This is from June 23rd, 2005, right? And, you know, people always tell me, because they get mad at me because I like to talk about the past. I like to bring up the past. Just like that brother said in the beginning, right? We're not going to get anywhere if we don't understand the past. It's about that. You know, that's the crazy thing of it is, right? Because I'm getting into it with this, and at the end of the day, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I already know what I was getting into, right? When I did this, when I jumped into this, And I already knew I wasn't going to be liked. And to be honest, I don't care. I knew I wasn't going to be liked. But I'm going to tell you this, I don't care. I didn't get into this to be liked. I got into this for answers, for change. I didn't get into this to make new friends. Because I had friends. Well, I should say I had. You know what I'm saying? I didn't get into this for clout. I didn't get into this for 15 minutes of fame, because I will tell you like this, is that I've been a part of changing city charters. I've been a part of campaigns, and I'll tell you like this, for what? And I will tell you like this, I can understand why Minneapolis has criminalized Black peace. Because it's all throughout out history. You got to look at what's in the news right now. Best Harvest Academy, whatever the fuck it's called, Best Academy, Harvest Seeds, whatever they want to name it, right? Right over there on Osa Memorial Highway with Eric Mumad. Years of that shit. And that's the crazy thing of it is, people wanted to look the other way. They wanted to look the other way because, first of all, how many people knew that about Eric and allowed their kids to go there, or knew that about Abdul Wright and allowed their kids to go there? Because y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. You're allowing your child to be around sex offenders, sexual predators that haven't been accountable, responsible. You know, that's what this is about. Because the crazy thing of it is, people get on me for bringing up the past for things that we haven't been accountable for. Things that people haven't been responsible for. You know what? That's the crazy thing is that, you know, yes, certain people have been exonerated or set free, but they haven't caught the killers. They haven't caught the killers. They're still out. Here's the crazy thing. Y'all want to talk about, what about dude's book, Stephen King? They walked among us, and y'all don't say anything. Because here's the crazy thing. If it's out of sight, it's out of mind. And if you don't know about it, how are you going to do anything about it? It's not to bring up, I want to tell people this is, I don't mean to bring up, I did at first, I wanted to throw this shit in people's face. But the more I read, and the more, I will tell you this, right? Be going between all these blogs, between Johnny Northside and between, and there's a lot of names, Don Samuels, Don Allen. There's a lot of political bullshit. There's a lot of, you know, from the NAACP, from the Urban League, from the Harvest Best School, whatever they want to call it, the academy. There's stories, you know what I'm saying? There's stories that have not been answered. So I'm not trying to bring up the past to hurt people. I'm trying to do it so we can heal families. Because I will tell you like this, during that era from the 90s and 2000s, there's a lot of unsolved murders. And that they believe that they solved them and that we have innocent people behind bars, like Timothy Magruder, Philip Vance, Jermaine Ferguson. There's so many people that have been, here's the first thing of it is that what they don't want to talk about when it came to Haaf, right? When it came to the ex-police officer, is that they were wrestling up a lot of juveniles during that era. They didn't care. If you were Black, they were picking you up. If you were Black, they were picking you. And listen, man, this is not me just saying this shit. There's actual documentation. There's documentation. Because I will tell you like this, there's a lot of things. And, you know, even reading through Ron's, I will say that most of the shit that I've been talking about, I get it from Ron. People think that, you know, a lot of that shit I put up them anonymous comments, but a lot of it was already talked about with Ron. He's already been, you know, the blog wars and all that shit has been talked about. Right. No, and that's what's crazy, man. It's like I don't get it, right? Because somebody asked me this morning, right? Like, what do I get of trying to bring up the past in the present? And I said, hopefully accountability. Here's my thing of it is, and I ask anybody, you know, if you're watching this now, if you're going to watch this later, the question I have for you is, do you want truth and transparency, or do you want to run with narratives? Because I'll understand if you just want to run with narratives, but if you want truth and transparency, then you should want what I want, the truth. Because there's a lot of questions out here. And the crazy thing of it is, it's not just one person saying it. It's not just Chaz saying it. There's tons of people out here saying it. And then you go back into history, go back into the past, and there's a lot out there. There's a lot of fraud. There's a lot of waste, no matter if it came to violence interrupters, no matter if it came to daycares, no matter if it came, all the shit that we're dealing with today, fucked up schools, it was all talked about. So how is it that we can't talk about it today? Because obviously we didn't solve it back then. We just made our problems worse. And here's the crazy thing, right? This is why I want to talk about Jerry Haaf, right? Haaf, whatever. I shouldn't say whatever, because, you know, rest in peace, Jerry. Because I remember going to South High School when this happened. It was, you know, Shakey's Pizza. Whatever, I think it's called Shakey's. Yeah, I think it's called Shakey's. But I remember that because there was a pizza, you know, that's the one. Yeah, it was crazy. Because I remember this. That's the one thing that I would tell people that, yeah, like, all right, I'm just going to get into it, right? So, again, these aren't my words. These are words that are written, right? So this is a blog, 2005, June 23rd. It was the 63rd of the year. The reopening of the discussion about the 1992 Haaf case continues the DFL PR campaign to paint blacks as terrorists, this time as killers of the peace. White Minneapolis fires its shot across the bow of the black community. Doug Grohl's June 18th column and 2005 column title says it all. When gang members killed officer at Pizza Shack, peace effort died too. George Widseth and Robert Streitz, Minneapolis assistant Hennepin County attorneys, responded to the Strib's Doug's column because Doug wrote, though 4 men are serving life sentences for the killing, Moss says he doesn't believe the shooter was caught. I'm going to say that again. Moss, and they're talking about Spike Moss, believes, right? This is if they quote, he got to go talk to Doug Grohl because these aren't my words, right? But Moss says he doesn't believe the shooters were caught. Their column title sums up their position as the go ballistic over the comment, we got Haaf's killer. What Widseth and Streitz don't mention is that originally 4 others were arrested and then eventually let go. And then only after 6 weeks of roundups were 4 arrested who are now serving life sentences. Indeed, it was never proved who ordered the shooting of Haaf. They tried to make it Sharif, but could not prove it. Then tried to make it about other leaders of United Peace leadership, Spike and the Reverend Jerry McAfee. In the end, it was pinned on only low-level gang members. The system has seethed for 13 years in its desire for a showcase trial with higher-level black leaders as if community activists, as per their statement, are community leaders by day and gang leader by night. This is the shot they have fired across the bow of the black community. This is how you tear apart a community. Accuse them with innuendos, scare them, and then round them up. What do these 2 strip pieces tell us? They tell us that the wounds of this incident are still festering among white Minneapolis. More serious are the other messages of Widseth and Streitz. 1, that there is a serious question of danger for those attempting to work to save young men and women from the abyss of gang activity, as they are defined as being gang members too. And here's number 2, he says, 2, there is clear implication that Spike and others should have been indicted for aiding and abetting the murder of Haaf. Why would they write such a thing? If they spent, as they write, thousands of hours establishing the guilt of those charged, then surely they would know whether Spike and others have been indicted or not. Such innuendo activities are such innuendo achieves what they don't want. The same questioning about the guilt of the second set of men arrested as well as the first. Coming as this does on the heels of the stories of Reed and Clark, it creates great reasons and anxiety for those trying to bring young people back from the abyss of life in a gang. They have purposely attempted to raise doubt in people's minds about whether one can ever do the right thing to save and preserve one's community with the statement that City Inc. was a criminal hub. It raises the key question, what are the ground rules? What are the ground rules? Why do they consider those working with youth to be considered gang members too? Could it be that they want the gang problem contained but not ended? So the internal strife continues and black on black crime continues, saving them the effort. Man, and this is something that happened a long time ago. This is a blog, a column that was 20 years ago almost. And how are we not dealing with the same things? Every day that we go on, right? You're seeing some part of the past that potentially has harmed us, right? Has harmed some form of fashion when it comes to our families, when it comes to our loved ones, our cousins. Some part of a family member has been caught up in this mayhem. And it needs to be answered. This is my thing of it is, I'm not trying to cause harm. I feel like there's already harm. There's been enough harm done, right? There's been enough harm done. But we need to have answers to these questions. This isn't something that is make-believe. It's a fairy tale, or I'm just talking blah, blah, blah. No, here's the thing of it is, innocent people have been put behind bars for other individuals' sins because they wanted to blame somebody. And that's it. While the killers walks among us, while the evildoers walks among us. This is, that's the one crazy thing of it is, I sit here and I think to myself over and over and over and over again, is like, the only reason why, the people that are coming at me, and honestly, I don't care, you know what I'm saying? Because you're not going to scare me from talking about this. You know what I'm saying? I live my life the way that I lived it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if y'all want me, you got to come get me. It's public information, because what I'm reading to you is public information. What I'm reading to you is public, right? And I understand that, people be like, oh, you just whatever. No, it's real shit. Because if you look at history, the past, that people have talked about certain cases, certain situations, and came up missing. Came up beaten, came up killed. That's the one crazy thing. And I will say this to Mayor Frey. Ron Edwards' death was suspicious. It was mysterious. The same time that COVID came around, the same day, people are going to be like, oh, man, no, I'm not, bro. Y'all got to look at the signs. Y'all got to follow the money. What does this? This hurts them. This doesn't, because I will tell you this, Ron called out George Floyd. Ron called it out. Not that it was going to be George, but because what was going on with Sabari, and he understood that counterfeit ring that was going on over there, something was bound to happen. Something was bound, just like with Jerry's flower shop. Something was going to happen because they allowed that shit to go on. See, they wanted people to think that it was about counterfeit money. It was about merely kind of mass mandate. They hyped us over counterfeit money. We've seen it in video that George, and I'm not saying that, I'm not, listen, people gonna be like, oh man, you seen he did. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we seen what we've seen. That's not, I'm not accusing him of nothing. I'm not saying that he died of nothing. I'm saying we all seen what we've seen. We've seen that there was pills in his mouth. I don't know. I know there was fentanyl in his system. There was a high amount of fentanyl in his system. Now, and what we know about fentanyl today, and especially if it was illicit, that was enough to kill him. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to have multiple answers, because I look at Zoya Code, John Pope, and then now even Jennifer Day, and I'm like, oh, okay, that doesn't matter to me. You know what I'm saying? He still deserves to be where he's at in federal prison, because he violated the civil rights of others while he was a peace officer. So to be honest, I don't care about all this. Oh, well, George died of an overdose, blah, blah. So Derek should get out. Listen, Derek is where he needs to be, because he was allowed to violate others' rights. Not even that, our civil rights. And that's what it's all come down to, because even about, what a lot of people don't want to talk about either is Jamar Clark and Justine Demond, whatever. I think their last name Demond, because you have a $20 million settlement and a $200,000 settlement. I'm going to say that again. You have a $20 million settlement, and then you have a $200,000 settlement. What makes her her life more valuable than it made Jamar's? There's a lot of shit that went on, and that's the crazy thing, is that people don't want to have these conversations. They don't want to have these tough, because niggas don't. Here's the thing of it is, and I ask myself this all the time, we don't really want the truth. We want a narrative. We want to feel good, because I will tell you like this: the truth gets niggas emotional. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna be for real. It gets niggas emotional, because they don't want to look at the skeletons in their closet that you have done wrong. And here's the one crazy thing to me, right? Why did people want to be like, oh, what about R. Kelly? Okay, that was old. That's the reason why you're going to see Mr. Kelly get out this year. The same thing with Bill Cosby, because we have a statute of limitations. A statute of limitations. And a lot of that shit was political, which y'all don't want to talk about. And that's wild to me. You know what I'm saying? It's like we get more mad at the messenger and we don't read the message, right? We're so hyped up over the messenger because, oh, he out here telling the truth. What does that matter? Who the messenger is? Because I will tell you like this, it doesn't matter if it's Democratic, if it's Democrats, socialist, I don't care who it is, you know what I'm saying, Republican. I go at these niggas all day, because at the end of the day, I don't agree with the Democrats. I don't agree with the Republicans. And we need to go back to conservative values of that family. We need to have that family nucleus. And I don't care what that nucleus looks like. I don't care if it's two women or, this my thing of it is when it comes to LGBTQ, right? I shouldn't even go there, because I want to talk about Jerry Haaf in Minneapolis. Fuck that. But yeah, that's what's crazy, is like this stuff has been going on for years, and people don't want to have these conversations, because if we did have these conversations, we wouldn't be here. We would have some kind of accountability. But because we allow these blood on people's hands, like RT Ryback, right? That's all we do is recycle them. That we got an election coming up with Jacob Fry, whatever you call him, Omar Fatih, Emily Koski. And how isn't this is the thing I think about all the time, right? Is how are we voting for these people to get into office when we know their sins? When we know their sins, or is it because there's enough gatekeepers in the community to silence them others out. And I'm gonna tell you like this: I'm gonna make them hunt for me. I'm gonna make them come look for me, and I'm not gonna back down. I'm not, because here's the thing of it is: until you answer these questions that are still left with plenty of questions and no answers, are because certain people don't like the answers because where they lead to, that doesn't matter. We just want the truth. Because I will tell you like this: there's a lot of names. It doesn't matter if it's political. It doesn't matter if they're community leaders. It's really big. And there's a lot of, they're police officers, they're prosecutors, they're mayors, city council, representatives, senate. This goes all the way up all the way up the ladder. So even when it comes to, with this fraud, how does it not seem like all this shit wasn't a setup? If you look back in the past, right? Because, that's one thing I'll say about Robert, me and him being on this shit, you know what I'm saying, with the data request, and it takes a team. And that's the one crazy thing of it is, right? Because there's enough motherfucking stories on Johnny Northside, what you had individuals talking about information to the police, and then the Minneapolis police precinct leaking that information. So I can understand why community members don't want to talk sometimes, or why they leave anonymous comments, or why they leave, there's sometimes people, that's what's crazy, man. It's like, I have family members that's, some of them dislike me, and then other ones are telling me keep doing what I'm doing, because they like what I'm doing because of the fact there was never anytime these stories came out, there was never no answers. They just swept them under the rug. And I'm gonna be for real, because anytime you bring up a specific situation, they quiet down. They call you out. Same thing with L. Flowers. The same thing with, and that's why I'm so disrespectful when it comes to some people, because at the end of the day, y'all been asked over and over, you can't keep pushing this shit away. You got to answer at some point. You got to answer at some point. And I'm going to keep on the same thing. Like, I was shocked at Don Samuels, because he comes up a lot. When it came to North High, when it comes to the CSI investigation, you see Bobby Joe Champion, you see Jeff Hayden, you see Jerry McAfee, you see shit, even Don Allen's name. That's the one crazy part. All this shit that comes up, Lisa Clemens, Spike Moss, Sharif, it's all the same fucking people. How are we not getting anywhere? And that's what I want. I honestly want to know, right? If you have the same, this is from 2000, this 20 years ago. We're reading the same names. The same names. So why? Never mind it. Because y'all are okay with the black churches and all that. Because these motherfuckers are your buddies. These are your friends. Right? Because you won't bite the hand that feeds you. Are you either scared of them? That's what I don't get. Because I will tell you like this. You go over on the Twitter, Facebook, they'll jump on you. And I'm going to tell you like this. Them white people on Twitter, hats down to Twitter right now. Because they crazy. Crazy. Right. No, I know, Robert. I'm not even tripping, man. You know what I'm saying? It's not even, that's the crazy part, is people don't even want to believe that shit. The evidence can be there, and because they can't see it in person, they don't believe it. That's what I will never understand. It's like, nigga, you believe in ghosts, you can't see it. The fuck? How you believe in the tooth fairy, nigga, and y'all don't believe in that our government and our police departments and all that done fucked over our families. And then we have churches and nonprofits that were a part of that. That's why I'm pissed off. And then the crazy thing, there's a plenty of this shit. And every time, what's crazy is, to be honest, I think they killed Paul Wellstone to put Norm Coleman in. Whatever it called, I think his name was Norm Coleman. They put him in there to get his vote. You take away Paul's and you get another vote. Because I will tell you like this, it's real kind of funny that, you know, Sharif went up there and was talking about how they were leaving guns and drugs and totes over north. And then all of a sudden, I shouldn't say all of a sudden, because I think it was a few years later. All of a sudden, Paul died. Because in my eyes, there's a lot of these motherfuckers that don't want to see the problem. And then there's some that'll be like, man, listen, I know what it's going to bring. That it's going to bring death. It's going to bring something that possibly that others are scared of. I'm not. They've already done it to me. The only thing they haven't done to me is kill me. You're going to have to kill me. You're going to have to, because at this point, I'm tired. I'm tired of hearing these same stories. And then the fact of it is that the media won't even touch this shit, because at the end of the day, they're a part of it. WCCO, that's the one crazy part. And I will say this, I see the dude up, Johnny Northside, back in the day. He runs Northside Minneapolis Crime Watch or some shit. And it's like, come on, man. You know, there's enough here that why can't we get answers? Why does it every time that we got to sweep shit under the rug? Huh? Because I'll tell you like this, people are getting affected. Every day this is the one crazy part, right? How many stories when the lawsuit came out against Harvest Academy, right? How many people are like, damn, that's crazy? Because I'll tell you right now, I got 3 messages from parents talking about, damn, it's about time. Damn, it's about time. And it's like, why don't we take people serious? Because I'll tell you the truth, we could have stopped this. Here's the crazy thing. This man came up here and there was already from Georgia, Mr. Eric Muhammad, whatever the fuck you want to call him, right? Came up here with already a shady ass name. But because he had money and stature and he was called part of that black excellence, certain people chose to look the other way because they wanted to take the money and not bite the hand that was going to potentially feed them. That's wild. I would never understand that. I would never understand that. Right? I just don't get it. Is that the letter? Is that what the letter of Tyrone Terrell is about? Establishing ground rules so that those labeled and their friends and families are to be rounded up, and that the labeling is no longer to be by whites, but by the blacks, that they have appointed to paid positions. We in Black America have worked in all circumstances with our young, dealing with the emergency among our young people. We are now to ask permission in our own endeavors to serve young people and help them save their lives if we are not to be labeled gang members too. We are confused, as all Spike said. What many have expressed and believed, and that is this: it was not proven conclusively and beyond a reasonable doubt who the real trigger man was, regardless of how many others were involved. Good point. You got a point. A lot want to forget, but how when it has been brought up again? Recall that the group of 4 convicted was not the original 4 arrested for the murder. The first four were released. The word on the street at the time was that they had been cooperating with police and in return were allowed to move a significant amount of drugs through the city. And how were the final 4 determined? Only after 600 African Americans were rounded up and detained over a period of 6 weeks after Jerry Haaf was killed. We do not favor gangs, and we do not write in support of Spike, but rather in support of truth and justice. We are now faced with the fact that this has opened some very deep and dangerous wounds in this town. So again, we ask, what are the rules of engagement? What is expected as appropriate efforts of a community to save lives? As we sit down in a room with the young involved, will we later be indicted? It is almost as if George Widseth or Robert Streitz have been waiting 13 years for this opening in order to seize the moment to make their charge. They issued the warning that Moss should be more concerned that he worked alongside Sharif Willis, who was a community leader by day and a Vice Lord's gang leader by night. Let us look at their words again. They spent thousands of hours establishing the guilt of those charged. Then why don't they know for sure about Spike? And what do they know for sure about Jerry Haaf, who on a patrolman's salary lived in a $400,000 house that today would be worth over $600,000 and had a big boat? Inquiring minds want to know if that had anything to do with his death. We are also curious as to why Widseth and Streitz ignore the reality of the history of the time that Sharif Willis, who had murdered a man 7 years earlier, was the darling of the white corporate community and released at the urging of the white community. We suspect that they had a noble savage view in the right environment, theirs, and under the right overseeing. Theirs, blacks would be peaceful. Indeed, Widseth and Streitz fail to mention that. No, oops. Did I read that? Oh, never mind. No, I didn't. So, indeed, Widseth and Streitz fail to mention that Sharif Willis was such a darling of white Minnesota that he was featured on the front page of the Wall Street Journal in April 1991. Their online archive only goes back to 1996 and was a part of a peace summit that discussed the economic plan of Dick Gregory and Louis Farrakhan, and that was to be financed by Bill Cosby. But with Officer Jerry Haaf shooting, Sharif was no longer the darling of the white community. They tried to pin the shooting on him. So let us look again at that pre-Haaf shooting landscape. The April Wall Street Journal article celebrated the successful peace summit in Kansas City, a 4-day conference heralded and supported by Russ Ewald, NASB, and General Mills. What Widseth and Streitz don't mention is that hundreds of gang members, Asian, Black, Hispanic, Native American, were celebrated there too. Next up were Cleveland, Chicago, and the West Coast. Then it was on to Cleveland in hopes for Chicago, maybe West Coast, Hispanics wanted. We were cut out of the Cleveland meeting with Nabe and McKnight labeling me too dangerous. Spike and McAfee agreed to my being cut out. Nonetheless, Cleveland showed great promise. People came from New York, Boston, Pittsburgh, Washington, D.C., etc. Louis Farrakhan would provide the marketing. Dick Gregory was going to supply the property and a factory in San Fernando Valley to manufacture the clothes. And Bill Cosby was going to finance the plan for $2 million. Not realizing the significance of tossing overboard the author of the plan, they found themselves unable to articulate the plan and were told to bring it back in to explain it. But Russ Ewald remained adamant that we were dangerous and didn't matter. Haaf was killed. Everything fell apart. Spike's program was ended. Haaf was just one man. How could the white community become so unhinged over the death of one when they yawned at the multiple deaths of young black men? The whites were angry. They blamed Spike Moss and wanted him on trial as well. It would have been a show trial to rival those of the USSR. The whites didn't mind as long as the blacks were just moving drugs among each other and killing each other. Then, bang, literally a white cop is killed and everything comes to a screeching halt. The same occurred when a white girl was later killed in Martin Luther King Park. Clearly, for the Strib, he's talking about the Star Tribune, for Widseth and Streitz, in the white race, in the white, nice Minneapolis, there is greater value for the white life than black life. Sharif, the Prince of Success, heralded by the white Minneapolis, was arrested on a weapons charge and in prison for life as a 3-time loser. We would remain mystified why Doug Groh, in his and its editors would reopen this door to damnation, to let the four horsemen of the racist apocalypse ride through this episode, along with Spike, now asking for more money for yet another program. Underscores why our book's chapter 14 on Black organizations, NAACP, Urban League, City Department of Human Rights, is subtitled Black Organizations, Now Part of the Problem rather than the Solution. It is why in chapter 16, we had the pages Unrest, Disturbance, the Status Quo. Price Minneapolis is willing to pay. We as Blacks, again, get the blame. And yet the real answer is jobs, in which first is required education, and yet the basic test scores reported in the Star Tribune shows the gaps we reported in chapter 7 of our book have increased both in terms of Black-white student test scores and in the terms of between high-scoring schools predominantly white and low-scoring schools predominantly Black. In our book, we refer to it as clubbing the Cubs and the inferiority and helplessness. We call instead for stopping the clubbing and teach skills, optimism, and hope. This is not done. The status quo for the city is maintained. Blacks are blamed. The gaps hold or increase. All is well, but the Minneapolis separatist status quo. Job hiring compliance rules are ignored. The rules of the education of Blacks is ignored. The status quo wins. Our kids lose. Peace initiatives remain abandoned. Black remain sequestered in the inner city. All is well and right with the white communities. That's, this is, again, like I said, this is from 2005. These are Ron Edwards' words, and it's crazy that we're sitting here talking about something that is crazy as hell. You know what I'm saying? It's like we are still talking about. Yeah, I did. I seen the Cheney assassination team. Yeah, I seen somebody. I think it was you sent me that. But it was crazy how we look at shit and it's all the same. It's all the same. And I will never understand that, because you go throughout history and you see the same shit over and over and over again. So I don't understand, and maybe I never will. Maybe it wasn't for me to intend to understand, but I understand that there is a history and it needs to be answered. There is questions that need to be answered. I don't know what more else to say than that. I know that this is going to hurt people. I know that this is going to not make people feel good, because it is shit that people don't want to talk about. And I understand that. Some people are going to get mad. Some people are going to get frustrated. But to be honest, that's what it is. I mean, shit, to be honest, I don't understand what else we can do without bringing up the past, because people have been hurt. Doesn't matter if they were not meant to be, or if they were just side bullets, or if it was, in the wrong time, in the wrong place. But I will tell you like this, it is things that needs to be talked about. It's not something that needs to be hidden anymore. It doesn't need to be swept under the rug. These are all things that we need to continually spotlight, just like with Harvest Best, just like with Feeding Our Future. And we need to look at people as, okay, if they're a whistleblower, so what? We have plenty of snitches in our community that we uplift. So why don't we uplift these so-called whistleblowers? And with that being said, man, I'm out of here. I'll be back tomorrow, 9 o'clock in the morning. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. And win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell, wish me well. And I'll see y'all tomorrow. Here's Belly Gang Cushington and Ice Cup.
Hey, I grab a cup with some ice in it. Nigga, my life in it. They're going through shit, nigga. Pour this shit up in a cup. Hey, I grab a cup with some ice in it. These little niggas playing off in a strike. Nigga candy lady got a refrigerator full of Sprites in it. Ay, nigga, ay, I move around in a Malibu or Altima, I go low key. Ay, lock the screen trap with the dough key. Jose hit a nigga with a 4-piece. Nigga to my plug, I'm a little brokey.